All right, we are live.
Or is it Memorex?
That is terrible.
Oh boy.
Terrible.
What?
It's already starting.
Already starting. Speaking
What
of
you talking
starting,
about?
welcome to the Iron Sysadmin podcast, your source for IT news, commentary, and a healthy dose of paranoia. All right, welcome to episode 27. I'm your host.
Holy
Lee.
crap.
Holy crap.
14 minutes in.
14 minutes in?
We were
14.
almost on time.
Yep, we're getting closer. So as you've heard, joining me from his missile silo is Jason.
I haven't
Hi.
quite bought the missile silo yet. You know, it's coming.
Listen, they can't tell.
live in a missile silo.
With all that clutter
pink
behind
missile
you,
silo.
it may as well be a missile silo.
Pink, right?
Pink missile silo. And of course, we've also got
Silo.
Dustin back with us again.
Hello again. Not from a missile silo that's pink.
Not from a pink missile silo. And I've got a beer that I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish tonight because it just not my thing.
Suck it up, Pansy.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure I will. I mean, you can't waste beer, right?
It's a crime.
Beer is important stuff.
Yes, I agree. It is a crime.
Crime. All right. So it's November.
Is
Like-
it a Saturday night in November? No.
We're past Halloween. We're a week into November
Yeah.
already.
Turkey Day's approaching.
Turkey Day is approaching.
And the fat man's
Nobody
going to come
cares
down
about
to me.
Turkey Day. Christmas is almost here. Quick,
Yeah,
put
right.
out all your Christmas stuff.
Right, it's time for Christmas, right?
Buy all the decorations.
All right, let me see if I got these things in the right order in my tabs here. Looks that way. All right. Tor. So the Hacker News tells us that there has been an issue with the Tor browser discovered,
Womp, womp,
Yeah.
womp.
in which users may actually have their actual IP leaked, which is kind of bad.
Yeah.
When you consider what Tor is used for. So I read through this article a bit before we started recording, and apparently this stems out of a vulnerability, not a vulnerability, but a flaw in Firefox, which apparently is what the Tor browser is based on. At its core, it's Firefox. I wasn't aware of that to begin with. Now I know. It has something to do with handling of the file URL type. I'm not really sure how that translates to I've got your IP, but whatever.
You have to. Basically, it looks like you have to go to a specially crafted web page.
Oh. File
then
colon
it directly
ifconfig -a.
yeah. Once an affected user navigates to a specially crafted web page, the OS may directly connect to the remote host, bypassing the browser.
Oh.
Oh,
It's not really a
Yeah.
bug. It's more of a feature of the browser.
I wonder if it calls a URL like file colon and then calls a remote location instead of a local one.
Not really sure.
That seems like a thing that could be possible. I'm speculating, of course. I have no idea. Well, so bottom line
I
is,
can't believe
if you depend on
I
the
can't believe you
anonymity,
buried. But you buried the best part.
what's
They
the
went
best
through
part?
all the effort of coming up with a name for this.
Oh yes, there's a name. I didn't hear a jingle for it though.
Well, right, but I mean it's a start. So this is
Turmoil.
the turmoil.
It's totally
Dun, dun, dun.
turmoil.
Oh,
That'd be
come
a
on!
good name for a
Yeah, how
mail
much
service.
effort they put into that?
Yeah, right. No, someone has been waiting. They've been waiting for an exploit in Tor or a vulnerability in Tor, so they could call it that because it's like it's too perfect. Turmoil.
But there's no associated picture. There's no song.
Not yet.
I
There's
don't.
no
Where's the
icon.
webpage for it?
I don't
True.
know, let's look.
I think the Heartbleed page is still up, isn't it?
All Google did was correct me to turmoil. No, I want to look
Well,
for turmoil.
yeah.
God damn it!
Yeah.
All
No,
Tor
Google knows
causes-
Yep,
best.
Heartbleed.com is still alive. All these years later.
How to spell turmoil correctly? They don't have their own webpage. What the heck? At least not that Google knows about.
Yeah, that's horrible. Well, obviously that's not a very good exploit, so just bypass
I
that
know.
one.
And there's,
So,
no, there's no jingle.
next in the news, speaking of jingles.
This one's hilarious. I got to admit, I put this in here because of the headline. I only skimmed the article, but I don't think there's much meat to this, is there?
Not really. Except that it appears that the end. Well, what's the? You might as well go for the article first. What do we got?
So again, from the Hacker News, Microsoft engineer installs Google Chrome mid-presentation after Edge kept crashing.
Now, the best
how
part
can you
about
not
this is
include that?
it had to be really funny watching him change the default browser. Because if you've ever changed the default browser in Windows, it'll actually say, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because Edge is so much faster," or "Oh, we'll save you so much more better." Yes,
I mean,
quite annoying.
Why?
So I wonder
Why
if they
would
actually
you?
went to that. Huh?
Nothing. I just.
I thought it was funny.
So basically, the demo broke because Edge sucks, and the engineer doing this basically said, "Oops, love it when demos break, so I'm going to go ahead and install Chrome," and everyone, including himself, started laughing. And while installing it, he said, "And we're not going to make Google better," and uncheck the box that sends crash reports and statistics to Google. But the author of this article did note that IE has long been considered the best browser to download Chrome, and
Not
Microsoft
IE, not
Edge. No, IE.
Okay.
Microsoft Edge has come out to be a competent successor to be able to do it even faster. So the download took less than a minute.
I have to say that, I mean, some of us on this podcast are old enough to remember the days when Windows didn't come with a browser. Right?
Sorry.
Not Dustin.
I used Mosaic.
Yeah, right. And you probably installed it from
Gopher before that. So
you probably installed it from floppy disks or something that you had sitting like in that top drawer of your desks, for every time you had to reinstall Windows, right?
No, I didn't even have an internet connection. This was when I was at I was in college, and I downloaded it there on their network to try it out. I was very confused as to what the hell it was.
Nice.
And then from there,
why are there pictures
from
on
there
my
I
internet?
moved to From there I moved to Netscape and followed that all the way up to Communicator until Netscape imploded.
Good old Communicator.
And then were the dark ages where Netscape wasn't being updated, but I'll be damned if I was going to use Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
And then Mozilla came out and rescued us all.
No, it was nice when Windows 95, what was it? Windows 95B rolled around that included IE3. Solely,
IE3, wow.
Yep. Solely because I could now set up a Windows machine, get it online using the tools that it came with Windows, the old dial-up networking, and then use Internet Explorer to go get the browser I actually wanted to use.
That was
that's kind of the same process. Get the browser you want to use.
Oh yeah, it's very similar to now, except I don't have to set up dial-up networking.
That was way after the days when you had to actually install WinSock.
Oh yeah, no, with Windows 95 you didn't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yep, WinSock, and then trying to remember. Pretty sure there was a WinSock 2 that somebody had written.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be like the best thing ever, and it sort of petered out because the internet kind of took over at that point.
Well, no. So it was like in the Windows 3.1 days, you had to have an application that would do the dial-up and the TCP communications. So there was like TCP WinSock, I think was the name of the thing, right?
Yeah, it was the Windows socket library.
Right. And then along came a newer version of it right around the time that Windows 95 came along. But Windows 95 had the integrated dial-up networking, which handled all that for you. So WinSock 2 just sort of died away because it wasn't needed anymore. I was doing dial-up tech support in the days that this all transpired, so I remember it all pretty vividly. I could probably also rattle off a dozen different init strings that would help you get online faster.
And you still remember them to this day.
That are in my rote memory forever. Anyway. Yep. Including the ones that'll make it lie to you and tell you you've connected at 11:15:2.
Those numbers. I'm gonna have PTSD. Yeah. All right. So there is a video of this if you're interested in the article.
Oh, there was a video.
I didn't get a chance to watch the video.
I'm not gonna go play it now because it'll end up in the recording. That might not be bad.
Let's see. The video is some sort of weird embedded thing that doesn't show you how long it is, or have a bar to be able to. Jesus. All right.
Well,
Yeah, it starts right off with Edge. Basically crashing. So
yeah. Well, again,
right.
I don't want to overplay our
moving right along.
So. Yeah. So this article I found was just kind of an interesting. I don't know. It's about the Xbox One, which, as you know, I'm not really an Xbox fan, as you guys know anyway, or at least as Jason knows.
As everybody knows now.
Yep. I'm more of a PlayStation guy myself, but whatever. That's not the point of the article. It's from Mashable. And the title of the article is Xbox One X is the perfect representation of the tech industry's existential crisis, which is a long way of saying the Xbox One X is like a prettier version of the Xbox One with a newer price tag and I guess 4K video. Did I get that right? Someone who actually knows the Xbox One X?
Yeah, anyone? I'm just trying to figure out how much I want to go into this. So yes, so it does do a couple of extra things. It has a bigger, fancier, much faster processor. Microsoft likes to say it's the.
I guess he really downplayed that.
Oh, he downplayed it a lot. But here's the deal. It's Microsoft likes to say it's the fastest, most advanced console on the market. They may be right. I'm not actually positive. I haven't really dug into the specs. It's a fairly amazing machine. It does a little bit more than just go faster than the previous one and have 4K. It actually does this crazy upsampling thing to take your existing games and make them look prettier on a high def screen. That's kind of like the DVD. Yeah.
Enhance.
Kind of what they did with DVDs back in the day.
Right.
Up convert.
Yeah. I mean, look, I get it.
Or not.
I get what the guy's saying. He's going on about, it's overall you're like, look.
The point of the article is that he's trying to draw attention to the fact that we keep buying newer, shinier crap that's the same as the old shiny crap. But we're just doing it because we're being spoon-fed new versions of the same old crap.
For some things I agree, but I'm not sure that I completely agree with this. I mean,
I don't know.
Look,
I don't know
Microsoft
Xbox One X is the best example. That's the one he used in the article. But like,
both Sony and Microsoft both came out and said the same thing. They believe they've reached a point where the upgrade of the hardware is just like a PC these days. Upgrade it because you get better CPUs. Right. Prices have gone down on components. You can get more memory. The hard drive can be bigger. And if we can add some more stuff in, great. But like they literally said they're going to move to a model where the new Xbox is kind of like your cell phone. We're going to come out with one every couple of years, and it's going to run just, the software is going to get slightly better.
It's going to kind of eventually it'll just do it better.
Right. Eventually, the older versions of that hardware are no longer going to work with the new software releases, but they're just going to make it incrementally better. And I don't know that I mean, the price point's a little high, but if they can start bringing that price point down and continue to do that, you basically have the cell phone model,
Yeah.
and everybody seems to love that.
If you look at like the iPhone 6 versus 7 versus 8, there's like very, very marginal differences in the models, from what I understand. I don't have an iPhone myself.
Yeah.
My wife had a 6 and went to
hardware.
a 7. I haven't seen the 8 yet, but from what I understand, they're like marginally better. But yet they still have a $600 or $700 price tag per model. Right?
And then if you decide
it's a similar thing. It's a similar thing with Google's Pixel devices, right? So like the Pixel and now the new Pixel, the Pixel 2, are very similar hardware wise. But it's newer. It's got a nicer screen, and there's no more headphone jack. Har.
But the key there is that the price hasn't been going up.
No, not with Apple.
But you got to think about that. Like, yes, it's $600 or $700, whatever the number is, right, for the entry level stuff,
right?
Or actually, it's not even entry level. Whatever, it's $600 or $700, but the specs on the device get better every year, and the price doesn't go up, which means that you're not actually getting charged for any sort of inflation increase or anything like that. Like the price is staying pretty steady.
What you're getting is newer hardware at newer prices, which keeps the price around the same.
Right.
So like, as the hardware improves, it gets cheaper. The faster stuff is cheaper, but the really fast stuff is expensive, right?
Right.
So they're just following the curve is what I'm getting at.
Right. And I'm not arguing that. I mean, it's a model that works. And
right, but you still have to, like, my God, if game systems follow the cell phone model, I'm gonna have to buy a new PlayStation every 2 years. Because that's where the cell phone model is.
Look, you bought a PlayStation to start with, so I guess that was your first problem.
I have a PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 3, which is still very playable, right? For
absolutely,
the games that support it, and it's like 10 years old. But it's still like, I can still turn the thing on and play it. I bring it to the LV Hackers meetups.
The PlayStation 3 is almost 10 years old.
I still argue that they never got the full capacity out of the PlayStation 3.
No,
I think there's so much power in there that they never took advantage of it.
And the PS4, I expect to get a similar lifespan out of. I mean, literally, the PS3 is still connected back in my kids' playroom. Whenever they want to sit down and play a game, as long as they don't want something brand new, they can use that. Right?
Did you get a PS4?
Yeah, I got a PS4. Like 3 years ago now, I think.
Oh,
but like, I still have that Xbox.
PS4.
I still have that Xbox 360 too that we played all those years ago, and that thing's still functional.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, this was one that was replaced.
The interesting difference is now that, so if you look at the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, like the hardware is like astronomically different, like unbelievably different.
Oh yeah.
If you look at the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, they're basically identical.
Yeah.
They're PCs. They're literally x86 systems.
Well, yeah, you got to go commodity now. That's the whole point.
Yeah. The difference is the software end of it. It's the software development kit that they built around it. And I'd have to argue in that case, when it comes to x86 and it comes to that sort of stuff, Microsoft's a bit ahead in the software development area because they've been doing it for so long.
I'm not arguing that the Xbox is a horrible system. I, back in the 90s, got into the PlayStation ecosystem. Not that there was much of an ecosystem at the time, but I preferred the PlayStation consoles. And then when I got back,
I did too. Yeah.
A couple years later, I just went back to PlayStation, and I still prefer the way they do things over the way Microsoft does things. Maybe it's because I have a deep down hatred of Microsoft. I don't know.
I'm sort of in the same boat. The Xbox is the one thing that comes out of Microsoft that I can actually
I get that at least historically the Xbox team is like this whole separate little hive inside of Microsoft. It's not really led by the business unit. But yeah, whatever.
Last consoles I had were Xbox 360 and a PS3.
Yeah.
The last consoles I had, and then I kind of got rid of them because I didn't play them anymore. And I'm still kicking myself because I really enjoyed certain games on one console.
I mean, honestly, the PlayStation 4 that I bought 2 years ago was mainly for the kids. You know, they were playing Disney Infinity at the time, and the PlayStation 3 didn't quite have the guts to run the newer version. So I got the PS4. I mean, partially for me, but mainly for them. Yeah, I play Diablo on it pretty frequently, but
it's cool.
Frequent being more than once a month, but probably less than 5. Anyway, moving along, we have a pretty. I found this article to be such an awesome concept. This is from Quartz, and the title is "A Cottage That's Heated for Free with Bitcoin Mining." Now, when I first read
BTUs,
when I first read the headline, I thought the article could go one of two ways. One, they're mining just enough Bitcoin to pay for their heat, or two, they're actually heating the house, the cottage anyway, with the heat produced by the Bitcoin miners. And I am very pleased to say that it is the latter. They are actually heating this cottage in, where did they say it was? Siberia or something?
Russian Siberian town of
Irkutsk.
Yes.
Irkutsk.
They're heating their cottage. And the picture in the article, like, is it really just this one little thing, or is it this whole building here?
Well, they say it's 20 square meters, so I'm going to go with that little tiny room.
It's tiny. Okay. So it's literally like a shed. It's a shed they're living in and mining Bitcoins. They say they're mining $430 a month of Bitcoins. And the heat byproduct of mining the Bitcoins is heating the cottage they live in. That's pretty awesome.
Right.
Definitely.
They make about $5K a year on it.
Yeah.
They probably a lot in electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, okay, so that was my main thing. They don't really go into this, but is that $430 a month paying for the electricity? Or is it is the electricity more than the $430 a month?
It's a clickbaity headline, I think. I mean, this is literally like a paragraph with 2 sentences around it.
Oh yeah, it's tiny. I did see it linked. I saw it linked elsewhere, but I didn't grab the other article to put in the notes.
The video has a little bit more content about how they're actually heating it. They're actually using circulation, heat under the floor, radiators, things like that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought I had read that, but it's not in the article that I linked. I'm confused. But yeah, they had like radiant heating in the floors.
Yeah.
And it, like there was like a liquid cooling or whatever through the Bitcoin miner that went into the radiant heat, which makes a lot of sense. That's kind of a good way to distribute heat. Good way to cool your miner and heat your house.
Definitely.
So anyway, I just thought it was cool. And the last but not least article, and I know Jason is going to have a ton to say about this one because he already led into it before we started recording. From the Hacker News, once again, iPhone apps with camera permissions can secretly take your photos without you noticing. Welcome to Phone Paranoia 101. You've given apps the permission to use your camera, and according to this article, now because of the way Apple handles the camera within iOS, if you've given application access to your camera, they can just like willy-nilly take video or pictures whenever the hell they want. So go. No, you're not going to make any comments. I see you holding it in there, like.
Well, you called me out so big on it. Wow, I'm not sure I can live up to it now. It's like I said before the recording. You're picking on the iPhone because it's the iPhone, honestly, which is fine. Apple devices get hammered all the time for the same shit that every other device does.
They don't really, in the article, they don't really say that it's different specifically from how Android handles it. They just say that this is a flaw in iOS. And they sort of allude to the fact that it's not a problem in Android, but I think I agree with you that it could absolutely be a problem in Android as well, just that no one's calling it out.
So I don't have an Android, but you said that there's a second option, or a third option rather. You can either deny access to the camera, give full access to the camera, or you can give temporary access to the camera for that one time that you're using it.
So I want to clarify that. I believe that's an Android 8 only option. Like that's a brand new thing that came with Android 8.
That's what is that, Oreo?
Yeah, when you grant permissions to any of the system permissions, you can do it on a case-by-case basis. I don't mean case-by-case. You can do it on a per-run basis. Like this time I've run Facebook, it's allowed to use my camera. Next time it wants to use my camera, it has to ask me again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
One-time kind of deal.
Right.
And that's great. And I agree, the iPhone should have that. However, your average person is get annoyed after the second time it happens, and it's going to say, "Screw it, give it full access."
Yeah, the
and
average
now
user
you're back to the same problem.
The average user who Facebook lives all the time or Snapchats everywhere, like that sort of thing. Yes, absolutely. If there's an application that they use the camera in frequently, they're going to just say, "Yep, you can use it every time because that's the whole reason I have this app."
Right. So the argument here is that if you're going to grant access to the camera, and look, there's probably, well, it's code. I'm sure there's ways to prevent you from accessing things in the background. But if you're going to give access like that, then when the camera is activated, there should be some sort of an indicator that the camera is activated. So on my Mac, when the camera gets activated, the little green light goes on. Now, I don't know if they fixed it. I haven't followed it that closely because it really, if you want to watch me have fun, but they were supposed to change it allegedly so that it was a hardware switch. So when the camera is activated, it's the hardware that turns on. So the moment that you activate the camera, it's the hardware that turns on the light, as opposed to the software, so that you can bypass.
Because that was
you have to do something like that in the camera.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the PA school that was spying on the kids or whatever. They were bypassing the light. And that's the one that pops to mind because that happens relatively local, but that's been an issue for years. So, but it's the same with this. Like, you have to show an indicator that the camera's been activated. Otherwise, how are you going to know?
Right.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, Android doesn't do that either.
If you walk on down to the comments section at the end of the article, there's a lot of people saying a similar thing, like, "Hey, Android will do this same exact thing." Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, you're not the only one who thought of this. It's also not exactly. It's also not exactly a new discovery.
No.
Right. Like, I don't know why this is all of a sudden. I don't know why all of a sudden it's getting attention.
Oh, just like everything, it's like a roller coaster. Whatever the interest is at the time. Well, you heard about the conspiracy theory about the microphone being turned on by Facebook, right? Did you guys hear about this?
Yeah, apparently there's a recent episode of Reply All where they go into this. I haven't heard it yet, though. It's in my list of things to listen to.
Well, apparently
I was going to ask you if they debunk it.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's Facebook. What?
Facebook said that the claims were false, and that's not what they do. The violation of privacy, blah 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 blah.
I mean, of course they're going to say that, right? So put on your
third-party research yet. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'd love to see some proof that it's not, or proof that it is, one way or the other. It sounds like it shouldn't be that hard to prove. Like, when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, well, why don't you just put your phone on a network that you have control of and start sniffing packets?
Now, I'm not going to go all tinfoil hat on you, but what if they fine-tuned this so well that if you try to just have a conversation that you normally wouldn't have, trying to trigger said advertisement, what if they just kind of ignore that request and wait for an actual legitimate conversation to occur based on your interests? Because they do have all of your interests already. So how smart of a bot are we talking about here? Or am I just making everybody nervous?
Right. So the explanation I heard was that
Jason's ignoring me.
there was a psychological term for this, but there's like, you learn a new word and then you see that new word everywhere.
Absolutely.
Like same deal. Like they were using it as a comparison of like, oh well, I was trying to trigger my phone to give me ads about cat food when I don't own a cat. And all of a sudden I saw ads about cat food. Yeah. Right. So
hey Siri, show me cat food. Look it. No, I'm just kidding.
Like,
Sorry.
there's a good chance that the ads about cat food were there already, and just you weren't
Yes.
noticing them, and now you are because you tried. You're
Right.
like, yeah,
yep.
There was a fancy psycho name for it, but as usual, I don't remember. Okay. Anyway, I think that's the end of the news. All right. Glad we're past that news section.
Mm-hmm.
B-Sides is coming up, right?
B-Sides.
Like this weekend.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. Friday, Saturday.
Should be
It's
cool.
going to be a party.
Still no schedule posted?
It's imminent. We're going to have talks, and they're going to be on Friday and Saturday.
There's going to be talks. It's going to be awesome.
we just to be clear, we threw this together because of the trying to get a venue and everything else. We threw this together in like under 3 months. So
well, I mean,
we're a little behind on a couple of things, but we're working on it.
Par for the course. In the same way that I didn't read some of the articles before we started recording tonight, and I'm not even certain we're going to have a coherent main topic. You guys planned a whole conference the same way I run a podcast. Awesome! I need to be on your team. I think. It looks like you're out of beer.
Refill.
I need to. Yeah, it's
take the cork
like 10
off
minutes
again.
to pull the damn cork out again.
Why did you put the cork back in? You knew it was going to be such a difficult thing to do again.
I don't want the bubbles to escape.
There's a device for this. It screws on and holds.
He
all
obviously does not own said device.
Wait. I got lost in the move. I haven't seen it since I left the other house.
Oh, so you had one and it's gone?
I did.
Proof or it didn't happen.
Yeah. I don't believe
Proof or it didn't happen?
Yeah, PCAP, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Picks.
Okay.
Picks or it didn't happen.
Picks. Yeah, I was going to say this.
Yeah, Picks or
PCAP or it didn't happen.
Speaking of beer, I better have more.
That is what you need to apply to the Facebook is listening to me thing. PCAP or it didn't happen.
There you go.
Then they'll start psychological warfare. Oh, your app doesn't work all of a sudden. Anyways, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
No? Why not? This show is all about rabbit holes and trails and whatever else is.
All right, fine.
Squirrel trails.
Squirrel.
So anything cool to talk about with B-Sides Delaware, or is it just, there's a conference. Yeah, there will be talks.
We're at a new venue. We're going to be at the Delaware Technical Community College. So we're a bit of a bigger space, lots of different rooms, as opposed to having the big, I guess the auditorium room. It's going to be broken up into a bunch of little rooms.
Oh, yeah?
And, we're I don't know, we're excited to see it, how it goes this year. So, and this year will feed right into next year, which will be our, I believe it's the 10th anniversary next year.
Wow, that's cool.
So hopefully,
cool.
We'll see what happens this year, but I think they're planning some big changes for next year to kind of kick off the next round of 10 years.
Cool.
A
new chapter in B-Sides Delaware. Should be good stuff.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I think we're gonna end up in spawn camp most of the day. So mainly because I'm bringing my daughter, and I don't know what else she can be interested in.
Yep. If you've got kids, Heath Hacker is going to be teaching Python to the kids.
Cool.
His
good. His daughter Bia has a talk about crypto.
Yeah.
Nice.
And my son, I think, is getting a big room to do his talk about Sysadmin kids.
Yeah, I was hoping to see what he'd done to his talk after the LV Hackers meetup. All the feedback he got.
He came home with 4 pages of feedback.
He He had like pages and pages of notes. He was torn to shreds, is the best way I can put it.
Yes.
In a good way.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a good way.
No, he actually seemed not overly freaked out about it. Which was kind of.
He got some good feedback, and I saw Danny told him that his Twitter handle was just too hard to spell. And if he's going to be active in any community, he's going to have to do something about that. And like the next day, I saw his Twitter handle was fixed.
Oh,
so he took it seriously, right? That's good.
Yeah, which is great. He also nuked every tweet he ever had, which was a little weird. But
why did he do that? That was
I don't know.
I saw him.
I don't know
because he like posted that, and then I went to look at the tweet, and it was already gone. Because he'd nuked it. I was confused. Well.
I don't know.
I'm curious why such a service exists. And what level of permission he had to give that app to his Twitter account to make that happen.
Yeah. And did he
then
rescind that access later?
Did he take it away later? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm torn between I should tell him to go do that or
let's see what happens.
You'll learn your lesson later.
You're going to learn a valuable lesson. So anybody who's watching via YouTube realizes that I've grown a beard in the last 2 weeks.
See, 2 weeks.
Wow.
I could do that in a week. No.
Yeah. Well, it's like a week and a half.
2 weeks. I could do that in. Look, I waited a month and never even came close to what Dustin has, and I gave up. So apparently, I can't at all.
Listen, it's not a valuable thing. It's very annoying.
No. Yeah. Really.
Why can't I grow hair up here?
Like, if I don't.
Oh no, I'm quite happy with not having facial hair. Yeah, right. It grows enough to annoy the shit out of me, but not enough to actually do anything with.
If I don't shave like every day, I've got sandpaper on my face. So, yeah. But over the winter, I mean, I like to do outdoorsy things, and over the winter, the climate here in Pennsylvania is not very cohesive to outdoorsy things.
Or
at least it hasn't the last several years.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't exactly cold last year,
mild.
So
no.
Well,
last year was probably the coldest we've had.
We've had lots of years recently where we've had like negative degree temperatures during the winter.
Yeah,
but then you've got like another day where it's like 50s. It's confusing as hell.
The trees start growing buds. The birds start chirping, and then it's like 20 degrees again.
This past winter was very mild, so I actually didn't really grow much of a beard last year. So, you
come outside the next day, and the bird is frozen to the tree mid.
Yeah, right.
The geese are like, "Where did all the water go? We're gonna turn back around." We wasted our whole trip back.
Oh man, you could definitely see it last year. It was
frozen.
late in the season, and the birds looked they were trying to figure out whether they should actually migrate or not.
Back and forth,
back pretty and forth. Crazy.
Yeah, let's go to Delaware. We don't need to go all the way south.
Just get to North Carolina.
Oh, man. We could go to Delaware this year and go to that cool conference.
Did you have a lot of geese at besides Delaware last year?
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, now we're talking about avian migration. I'm gonna stop right there.
African or European swallow?
I'm gonna carry 2 coconuts.
Non-procreating. Anyway.
I just want to point out, you gave me access to the account.
What? What account? Which account? What?
When you check Twitter, you'll find out.
Oh no! What have you done?
Me? Nothing.
Yeah, you.
It was a rogue AI on my machine.
No deleting.
It's good.
Fast and slow. Oh.
Debian migration.
Hmm.
All right. So security news today. DES was once military grade. So was a password of 000000000 for launch codes.
Yes.
Well, listen, if the launch button is behind a locked door, you don't need a secure password.
With a physical key, right?
With a physical, it's turned twice. Whatever. I'm thinking back to like War Games now. Was it War Games? Yeah, War Games.
War Games, DEF CON 5.
So anyway, last week or 2 weeks ago, we chatted about AWS's Elastic Container Service. Yes, ECS. And I actually got a response from a fellow by the name of Nathan Peck, who apparently works with AWS on, I guess, on the ECS team. And he had some very useful feedback for anyone who's interested in using ECS. And I'm going to link to the Twitter thread in the show notes under the chat section. Basically, he's got a bunch of tools and a bunch of scripts and a bunch of basically know-how on how to make this stuff work. So, yeah, I'm going to make sure to share that. If you were following along our Twitter feed, you would have seen all of this whole conversation already, because it happened right after our last episode. So, yeah.
I apparently don't follow you on Twitter because I didn't even see it till today.
You're terrible.
I am.
You have access to the account, as you've just demonstrated.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was a rogue AI.
Yeah, right. That was my phone listening in because I gave Twitter access to my microphone, right?
Yes, that was it. Definitely.
That is how they're going to get their shares up. Auto AI posting.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to go, right?
Indeed.
So you guys have anything cool going on? Other than besides Delaware and whatever Dustin does in his free time? Maybe we don't want to. Rick and Morty, right? You've been watching Rick and Morty?
I haven't in a while.
I've seen seasons 1 and 2.
I'm trying to get this. I'm glad he's finally watching them. Are you watching it yet, Nate?
No, not yet. Listen. On October 31st, a new season of Stranger Things came out.
Yes.
This is all that matters.
What are you talking about? I watched the entire season already.
Yeah, I finished it already. I was trying to make it last more than like 2 days, so I was watching 2 episodes a day.
It's only 8 episodes or 9 episodes, so like you know, at the end of it, you're like, no, I want more. Where's the rest of it?
That was kind of disappointing. Like that's one thing that I do like about cable broadcast, or not broadcast. You know what I mean? Like cable network TV shows. You usually get between 12 and 24 episodes in a year. Or
you also have to watch them 1 a week, so you kind of
yeah. Oh,
right.
Speaking of that, cable networks, you said what's interesting. Comcast has finally admitted that the pay-for-play TV market has been flooded by all these new companies, and they said, "Well,
weird.
We should do the same thing for $18 a month. $18 a month. You don't need to have a cable box. You can actually stream core channels, which is like ABC, all those, right? And for an additional cost, you can get entertainment packages as well. So no longer do you pay $80 for cable and pay for the box."
But what do I do when Verizon slows down my internet because it's Comcast, because they want to sell their Fios internet service?
Though that's the other thing. Can you even get Comcast streaming over another internet connection? Like, okay, maybe cellular, but can you get it over Fios?
I mean,
how ironic would it be if Comcast ended up complaining because another provider
it would
limited their bandwidth?
Why are you throttling us, man?
It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be a war. It really is.
But DirecTV is doing a similar thing.
Well, yeah, it benefits them. They don't have to pay for as much of a expensive infrastructure if they can offload it.
Is DirecTV allowed to stream the local channels though?
I don't know. Last I knew, they were antennas in the back of a receiver.
Comcast kind of owns the local channels, but
Well,
DirecTV would have to have licensing.
well, they provide the infrastructure, and there's a certain cost for that infrastructure. Oh God.
I see a new career for you.
Yep.
Yeah, and the whole little antennas thing didn't work out either.
No,
Although
it didn't.
that whole thing was brilliant. Such a good
I
idea.
know what you're talking about now.
Where they had the computers loaded with these little tiny antennas, and each antenna would tune in to a specific channel, and there was one antenna for every subscriber. It was like it was so brilliant. And the courts were like, "Yeah, nice try."
Yeah.
So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it seems like the recorder just filled up on us.
Womp womp womp.
And I don't.
What's your backup plan? What's your contingency?
You forgot to empty it before you started, didn't you?
I'm checking that right now, but I'm pretty sure I did. Nope, I didn't.
Ah,
my fault.
Either that, or we talked so much that we broke the compression on the recorder, filled it up even faster. It's just what is it? SD cards or something?
Yeah.
You just take another blow on it and put it back in.
I should just get a bigger SD card, I suppose.
Just blow it. like it's a Nintendo.
I can get a little more of those.
You should have so that if this happens again, you can go slap a new one in and then stitch them together later. Or before you start.
Oh, we lost Jason.
No, he's now he's here. No, okay.
Oh, did you go silent or was that just me?
No.
He did go glitchy for a minute there.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I was affected by that outage today. Not saying who. I wasn't sure if it was still going on.
What, that Comcast outage?
And level 3, don't forget them.
No such thing. There was an outage today? I didn't notice.
Oh, dude, it was terrible.
Yeah. Level 3 is still called level 3?
I don't know.
Now they're level 4. They've leveled up.
Level
All right,
3.
I don't know.
See where our recording stopped.
No,
there.
Level 3 is CenturyLink now. I knew it was different.
CenturyLink. Yeah.
How level 3's tiny errors shut off internet for parts of the U.S.
Oh, there's finally an article. Who has it? Because I've been waiting for something to come out.
This one is Wired.
Oh, nice. Good source. Because The Verge didn't have anything, and I've been watching like a number of them.
Action was caused by a configuration error.
Oh,
you know,
human is the weakest link in the chain, always. That sucks. Oh.
Did we lose it?
Comcast says it's a level 3 issue. RCN had issues. RCN still exists.
Yeah. They're expanding. Come on.
The misconfiguration was a route leak. That sounds like BGP.
Oopsies.
It was BGP. Wow. Wow. The internet fucking at BGP since it was invented. Jesus Christ, people. This is not hard.
Listen, I'm sorry. If you don't stop talking about networking stuff, you can't be on our podcast anymore.
ISPs use asses to keep track of what addresses are on their networks.
ASs.
I'm an ass. I know. Making a joke.
Autonomous system numbers.
Okay,
ASN,
so do you guys want the good news or the bad news?
Both at the same time. Mash them together.
Can you?
The good news.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, can you combine them together?
The good news and the bad news is that we recorded all the way up until the end of the news.
Oh, perfect.
So everything from where we started talking about B-sides on got lost.
Oh.
So pretty much from the start of the announcement.
All right, so here's what you do. You fit the rest of it. and then use this program called YouTube DL to download the YouTube episode after it's posted. Then you can use Handbrake to rip the audio off of that YouTube and part out that's missing and stitch it back in.
Man, your internet sucks today.
Yeah, you really
Make
does.
sure your kid's not torrenting.
You can buy down them.
You know what it was?
That's a great comparison.
There was so you were stroking that beard so much that you broke my internet.
I did.
That's it.
Do I need to figure out what the hell's going on with the internet now? This is going to annoy me.
Well, I've got another minute or two left before I finish emptying off this SD card so I can go back to recording. So,
dude, don't do low-level formats. Nobody does low-level anymore. It's a quick format or nothing.
I would like to get the data off of the SD card before emptying it.
Oh, I gotcha.
Otherwise, we have none of the audio.
Otherwise, it's all gone. And all we have left is the YouTube recording, which will somehow get lost when I stop the broadcast. And this entire episode will be gone. And we will never speak of it again.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, God.
Google got rid of their speed test?
Googled it? I didn't even know they had one.
Yeah, you used to be able to type speed test in, and it would pop up with a speed test, and it's gone now.
I'm not a big Google user, so I guess I couldn't tell you. DuckDuckGo doesn't have one. What the hell?
Okay, that one uses Flash, so we're going to go ahead and walk away from that one.
Try Bing.
Oh, yeah.
Try Bing?
Or Netflix, fast.com. But it doesn't show
that's what I'm doing right now.
Don't you like Speakeasy?
Speakeasy?
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I always used to
use
for speed tests.
Look at that. That's cool. Speakeasy speed tests.
Guys.
Harrisburg, PA, near me, NYC.
Hey. 7 meg.
Ooh, baby. You got
Did you say 1 meg?
7. No, I've got 7.
7. Certainly sounded like 1.
I agree.
This is a commercial account too. I'm a little.
That doesn't mean anything, Jason.
And it's not a wireless thing. I'm wired.
You better go complain. You better go complain.
I'm positive.
Then unplug the wireless so nobody else can use it.
Call up your buddy.
Wired.
Oh, my connection sucks. I'm commercial too, and it sucks just as bad.
Oh.
As of today, I'm commercial. I feel special. I have an IP address now. That doesn't change.
Are we all going to run speed tests now, or are we going to go back to recording a podcast?
All at the same time, so that we can all.
Let's do speed tests and record a podcast at the same time. Yeah.
Ooh, I mistyped speed test, and I got to the funcoolstuff.com. Click here to continue. Shall I?
This episode is quickly turning into a train wreck. Just saying.
Oh, I think we figured you're not actually going to use any of this because you're in the middle of trying to delete the recorder. So
yeah,
we're just filling in.
It's done and recording again.
Yay! Welcome back to speed test. Oh, okay. Your eyes are moving, so I must not have lost connection.
No. I'm here.
Everything went quiet. I was scared.
I was distracted. Sorry.
Just looking at Slack for a second.
Sure.
I'm trying to see if anybody's witnessing this train wreck. It doesn't look that way. If anybody's watching, speak up in the chat.
Oh, the Slack chat or the YouTube chat?
Either, all.
Oh, I love the. Okay, I feel like an ass now.
Why?
Well, because the picture for I went to the YouTube page is me with my mouth open, like
it's like
you're glitching out.
Yeah. All right. So the recording died right as we started the announcement. So do we want to? I mean,
hey, why do I have a wrench?
A wrench?
You wrench?
Yeah, I'm on the YouTube chat and I have a wrench. Can I do something special?
You're logged in.
No, it's because you're a moderator.
Yeah, I'm not a moderator.
I think
what can I do? I want to demoderate this guy. Put user in timeout. Yes.
You can put me in timeout? Please do.
Message deleted by Jason. Come on.
No. You've been placed in timeout by the owner of this video or moderator. Edit and try again.
That was awesome. It's like the stupidest feature I've ever seen, but it was funny.
Dude, I can't even hit enter. Like it literally lets me type, and I can't say anything. It's
You're just completely gone now.
It is. It says, "Oh,
you've been timed out for 300 seconds, but I can't untime you out, which is goofy."
Oh wait,
That's
hold on.
horrible.
Oh no, that doesn't work either. Oh, what the heck? They have a nice little UI though. The little airplane where you send a message. It's slowly filling up with color. So I guess it's indicating the time I'm allowed to leave the corner.
You're in.
I've been spanked.
I don't know what the airplane has to do with the corner, but okay.
I can't even send you emojis. You love emojis. Ooh, they're slowly loading. Drool. I can't even click the emoji. What kind of timeout is this?
So, should we try to get back on task here? Right. So, B-Sides Delaware.
Where? What B-Sides?
It's in Delaware.
Are we starting over with the announcements?
Yeah. I thought we would just go back to the announcements.
B-Sides Delaware. So B-Sides is a thing. And
B-Sides is a thing. It's in Delaware. Are there any geese there?
Maybe. It's been pretty mild.
This time of year, probably. And we're gonna have talks, and eventually there'll be a thing about talks.
See?
Yeah.
So if you go to bsidesdelaware.com, eventually the schedule will be there.
How do you spell that domain?
B-Sides Delaware.
How do you spell Delaware?
Does that domain actually get you to the right place now? Because I tried that before and it seemed very broken.
It's very broken.
It's the website.
It helps if we spell Nate. Where, not Del E. Where?
Yeah, no, that site can't be reached. Oh, I put B-E sides.
See?
B-Sides. I spelled Delaware right.
Oh, well.
I spelled Delaware right, but spelled B-Sides wrong.
B-Sides wrong. No, so like I went here to register and it got me to the wrong registration link.
Really?
Yeah, it was like last year's registration link.
I just got to the right registration. Maybe you went early.
Well, it doesn't matter now because the registration is over, isn't it?
We are in late reg. No, that's out. You can do walk-in registration now.
I came here the week registration closed. So like 2 or 3 days before registration closed. And the registration here said it was sold out. And it was 2016 registration.
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Did you tell me that? Did I fix it?
I think I told you that. And in fact, I think I told you that on the show.
I don't know. I don't know what happened yesterday.
We recorded.
My brain is full of all the sysadmin stuff. I can't remember day-to-day things. Come on.
I know, right? Like, wait, what did I eat dinner yet? I can't remember.
Yes, I had dinner.
But the servers are up. The servers. What a night.
Oh, what a night.
So those of you listening in audio, you'll have to go view the train wreck that's recorded on YouTube because the recorder filled up right around the time we started talking about announcements. And there was some hilarity. And now it's going to be lost, except for YouTube. I may just have to try to download the YouTube video and see if I can pull out the audio and recover some of it.
Look, if you go back to the YouTube video from like 10 minutes ago, I explained exactly how to do this.
I know you did.
Yeah. You did.
So
I had a very violent.
Seriously, YouTube DL is like the most amazing Python script I've ever seen. It's amazing.
Well, I'm thinking that since I created this video, I may be able to download it without having to use some sort of a hack. But I don't know.
Good luck.
Anyway, yeah, right. Good luck. So B-Sides Delaware, where did you say it was this year?
B-Sides, Delaware.
It's in Delaware.
All right.
You had said something about where in Delaware, and then it didn't get recorded.
I've had a lot of beer.
You have.
Beer, glorious beer.
All right. So B-Sides this year is at the Delaware Technical Community College in Newcastle, which I believe is close to where B-Sides has been previously. We moved because reasons. Basically, the previous venue is under construction this time of year for, I don't know, because they wanted to construct it. And so this time around, we're going to be at DTCC. Slightly different venue. We've got the second floor. It's going to be lots and lots of rooms, some breakout rooms, and some smaller rooms for different things. And there'll be a sponsored like hangout area with like couches and stuff. It's going to be pretty neat. So we've got
hangout, huh?
I think we're going to have 2 spawn camp rooms. Don't quote me on that. I think we're still discussing it, but we may have one that's one structured room and one unstructured room.
Well, in previous years, you had one big spawn camp room.
Right,
it actually had like someone speaking, and it had like rows of computers, and it had Destruction Alley.
Right, which is why we were thinking about splitting it out this year to be like a structured and an unstructured room, so that we can have like, I imagine Destruction Alley would be like in the unstructured area.
Yeah.
And then the structured room will probably have the Raspberry Pis and stuff that people can program on while they're doing talks.
That's cool. That's cool.
Plus we've got a bunch of rooms for, talks. Some rooms, I think there's going to potentially be a swag room.
Swag room.
There's
a whole room just for swag.
I think there's a room that's dedicated to the sponsors.
Wait.
I forget what the layout is supposed to be, but
wait, if you have a room for swag with just swag, you may not see Rich outside of that room. He may just be in there collecting swag for the whole conference.
Well,
Swag.
Rich is part of the conference, and he actually does the purchasing, so he's probably aware of all the swag already.
Yeah, well, that means it's never going to make it to the conference. He's going to put it in his basement.
I need to have triplicate of everything.
Okay, so by swag, I mean the stuff that the conference, are buying so that we can sell, like T-shirts and stuff.
Oh, okay.
No, vendor swag's a different beast.
Not vendor swag.
That's up to the vendors.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll be down there on Saturday with my little girl, my older little girl. You look like you're out of beer. That's a shame.
Error.
Shake the bottle. I need more.
Just
Jason has
all the bits.
Gotta get all the bits.
Jason
I tell you what,
RR.
this Warlock that I'm drinking is better the further through it I get.
That girl at the bar is looking better too.
This is why I don't go to bars. Anyway,
I was thinking because it was you're married and
well, that too. So.
Oh, nice recovery.
As he turns around, yes.
Yes, dear. No.
Just kidding.
So you were saying before something about a Python for Kids instruction?
Yes. Heave Hacker, whom all 3 of us know, and our listeners probably do not, will be doing a Python for Kids like course-ish type thing. And his daughter, Bia, will be doing a Crypto for Kids talk.
You have any idea what level for kids he means by Python for Kids?
Bia is...
She's 10.
10? Apparently
I don't want to release too much of Heaves. What are you... I don't want
to... I'm putting the cork back in.
It's an empty bottle!
Look, the cork's back in!
The bottle is empty. Don't...
Now it'll go on display. Shut up.
You could have put the cork back in later. Just saying.
Heaves' daughter Bia is going to be giving a talk on crypto. Right. So the Python for Kids thing is, I believe it's aimed at basically his daughter's age. So, I think it's similar to a course he's given before at her school. So,
yeah. I was curious if that was it or not, because I know that they were.
I believe so.
He has taught Python for Kids at her school.
I believe so.
So okay, that's cool. That's cool.
And then my son, with his 4 pages of notes, since you guys tore apart his talk at LV Hackers, should be giving the updated Sysadmin for Kids talk 2.0.
Listen, it was very constructive criticism.
I didn't say it wasn't.
Yeah, they always
it was a very constructive shredder that we put him through.
Yeah, he came back and said that they tore him to shreds, and he had 4 pages of notes, and all I could think was, "You took notes?"
Yeah, no, he was being very good about it.
That's progress.
No, he so Danny basically went through his slide deck slide by slide and basically tore each one to pieces and had him rewrite them or suggested edits for each and every one of them.
Good.
So yeah,
Good.
but he also apparently has like an hour slot to fill, and he got through his presentation in like 15 minutes.
Oh, so he's taking after me.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
But I mean, there was like when you did it, you tore through your content quickly, but at least there was content.
Oh well, yeah, I was terrified.
I felt like the Sysadmin for Kids talk didn't quite have the content that it needed, and that's sort of what we're leaning toward.
Look, it's in the title, man. He's a kid.
Yeah, he is indeed.
No excuse for when I gave that doctor talk. I got my ass handed to me.
Well, I mean,
but you're an adult. We're allowed to.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's released as a kid.
You also gave a Docker for Beginners talk.
Well,
and then they immediately went after security, and you were like,
what?
I didn't prepare for that.
Yeah, let me
which
try
is fine.
this.
Yeah,
try this.
Wrong audience. Oops.
Yeah, well, no, it was still a good talk. I got something out of it. Whatever.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody did.
So yeah,
besides Delaware, should be a good time.
If you haven't registered, you can register all the way up to the day of the conference, and do walk-in reg
stuff. Then, right?
You don't get nothing. You don't get swag. You don't get lunch tokens. You get a patch that says "Hi, my name is," and you get to write your name in.
Is it an actual patch this year, or is it still a sticker?
No, it's a sticker.
Nice.
So
cool.
So yeah, I mean, there's benefits to pre-registering, and it helps us because then we know we can plan for the number of people to come. But there's people who decide to not pre-register every year, and that's fine. We're open and we continue to take people every day. So come on down and enjoy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully this time I won't breeze through that easy pass lane and get a fine.
Don't do that.
Whoops.
That's cool. I did that once, and that's how I ended up with an easy pass. Is I bought one.
I'm actually very tempted to go to a retailer that sells the easy pass starter packs and get one before B-Sides Delaware, because I had no idea that I was going through an easy pass lane until it was already too late.
Yeah, I did that in Philly, and I bought one at a rest stop on the way back, and it
wasn't quite that bad.
Blowing through easy pass lanes, blowing by buses. Wow.
Yeah, right.
Why did I ever drive with you?
No. I mean, in this case, it was one of those where the toll lane is like you have to get off of the highway to get to the toll, and the normal lanes are just like there's an easy pass sensor, which was
yes.
Yeah. You probably know where I'm talking about.
No
I went through it. I didn't even realize until it was too late. I'm like, oh crap! I'm like way over here, and the lane I need to be in to get to the toll booth is way over there. Crap.
Oops.
So yeah, $65 later. It was not fun.
Well, you had your ticket, didn't you? Could you just call them and say like, "Oops"?
No, they didn't give me an option to do that. It was just like, here, pay this fine.
I would have just called them.
You bastard.
What state was that in? Delaware?
No, it's Pennsylvania.
Oh,
it's down by Philly, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, that split.
Oh, when you get off 476. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I did. That's how I ended up with an easy pass. That was before they were still working on it, and they opened the lanes. They were trusting people, and I accidentally went that way. And I said, "Oh, oops."
Dustin's not trustworthy. Write that down.
Not trustworthy.
Questionable.
Just
to verify.
All right. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, first of all, last week or 2 weeks ago, we had that chat about ECS, and there was actually a fellow from I believe he actually works on the ECS project for Amazon, and he looked us up on Twitter and had some commentary, and I've linked the Twitter thread in the show notes. So basically, he has some commentary on, like, tools and tricks and things to make ECS easier to use. So yeah, I'm going to include that in the notes. I wanted to make sure that people were able to get a hold of them. If you follow us on Twitter, you've probably already seen the thread. So it's not news to you. You should totally follow us on Twitter at Iron Sysadmin. Do that now. Go. So hopefully our main topic tonight is about OpenShift, I think. But first we have to do this. I just realized that I think the whole conversation about the fact that I grew a beard was lost.
Aww.
So now you guys will never know why I grew a beard unless you watch the YouTube video.
Aha! Bonus content only
And
available on YouTube.
It's not because of Movember.
And when they watch the YouTube video, they can watch us do that whole chatter about the announcements and stuff twice.
Yeah, you could see us do the announcements and the chat twice. Probably different content because we had a couple drinks in between the first and the second.
Yep.
All right. So continuing our talk about Docker, we moved into management platforms or management systems like Kubernetes and Swarm. And then we moved into higher level management systems like clustering systems like ECS. And within that realm is also OpenShift. So I've been poking around at OpenShift for quite a while now, since before it was even Docker. And I just today... Docker. Yes. Are you like a parrot? Docker.
You can mute him. It's okay.
Don't make me mute you. Anyway. Yes, before OpenShift was Docker, they had a
Docker. Sure.
Some other.
Okay.
All right. Don't give him any more to drink.
I didn't give him something to drink to begin with. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Now he's muted. Awesome.
Voluntarily.
So before OpenShift was Docker, they had a separate containerization scheme. It used SE Linux and C groups, but then they decided, like, hey, Docker is this thing, so they started using Docker in the back end. So now he's in Slack doing the same. Docker. And
so I actually talked to. So we were at a. Oh, I thought the space bar does mute.
Now you're. Oh.
Whoops.
It's a bad night, folks. It's a bad night.
All right. So I was at a conference meeting, whatever. We were meeting with a vendor, and Red Hat happened to be there, and we were talking with them, and that's where I sort of learned that OpenShift had shifted to Docker. And basically what they had said is, back in the day, matter of fact, when you introduced me to OpenShift, like 5-6 years ago, when they were doing what was the terminology they were using? Cartridges and and all sorts of other
gears and
gears. Yeah, it was a little weird.
Well, they were going with the shift, like
yeah, I know.
They're going with like car terminology. So I don't know where cartridge comes into cars, but whatever.
So back then, the idea was you take your application, you package it up. Excuse me. You package it up and you put it into this thing called OpenShift. And OpenShift will take care of the rest for you. It'll just run your application, and that's all you'll ever have to worry about. And if I remember correctly, it was kind of a and it worked with certain types of applications, and you had to, there were caveats here, there, and everywhere.
It was basically it was like a web platform specifically. Right.
Yep.
Like you could run things like MySQL in there, but that was mainly just to support your web applications. What it came down to is they were all, you would take a Git repo and you'd put your code in that Git repo, and then OpenShift would pull the Git repo in and you'd have hooks in there to tell OpenShift to do like how to do things. You'd have like Composer doing all of your package installs and whatever. And then, it's not too dissimilar from the DevOps movement of today, but it was like just sort of an earlier incarnation of the whole thing.
Right. And if I remember, a lot of at least what we looked at, a lot of it was PHP.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could run Python, PHP. There was even like a Perl cartridge, if I remember correctly. You could run whatever language you liked, as long as there was some sort of a definition to make this work in OpenShift.
Right. So fast forward to, I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah. So basically, when OpenShift 3, when OpenShift 3 was released, they switched to Docker.
Right. So as the story goes, according to the Red Hat guys, when they decided to start looking at what version 3 was going to be, they started talking to their customers, and a lot of the customers said, "Well, we're kind of looking at this Docker stuff. You guys are close, but this doesn't really do what Docker does, and we're really looking to move to Docker. So, we're probably going to ditch OpenShift and go there." So Red Hat went out and, according to them, they didn't want to recreate Docker. So they decided they were going to choose whatever they thought was the best in the market for Docker servers. And they said they looked at, vanilla Docker and DCOS and Kubernetes. And they said, look, Kubernetes is won. Like, Kubernetes won the Docker war. It's over. Yep. Just give it up and run on Kubernetes. So they integrated that, and they took what they had and sort of built it on top of Kubernetes and turned it into more of a container management system than a cartridge management system. So it's the OpenShift that they had known and that people really loved and enjoyed using, and it was easy, and had all these great features, and they just kind of morphed it into a Docker centric model, and that's how the OpenShift 3 came out.
Yeah. So basically, at its core, OpenShift is a nice web UI that runs sort of in front of Docker and Kubernetes. Is really, if you were to simplify the whole concept, that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Why the heck would you want to run this thing on top of Kubernetes? Is really probably a question people might want to have answered. And to me, that comes down to the same thing. The same question is, like, why would I want to run, I don't know, using terms that are more familiar for some folks who are in the VMware world, why would I want to run vSphere versus like a command line virtualization platform? And it really comes down to ease of use. You could argue that it's not any easier to use. In fact, I actually find Docker command line pretty easy to wrap your head around, at least after you've used it for a bit. And I actually struggle with OpenShift's UI, but that's mainly, I think, because I'm not a developer, and it seems more geared toward people who are hardcore, like, Docker-centric developers.
Yeah, it's the whole DevOps thing. Also, keep in mind that vanilla Docker is a bit different than Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a little bit more complicated with the pods and all the insanity that you can go there.
Yeah, so, I also haven't run Kubernetes extensively. I've stood it up to poke at it and whatnot, similar to what I've done with OpenShift. So, yeah. Basically, OpenShift is just another layer on top of Docker and Kubernetes that are supposed to give you a nice web UI. And it is a decent web UI that lets you, define a Docker container, lets you define, instances and how highly available it needs to be and whatnot. Similar to what we were seeing with ECS that we covered 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So that pretty much covers like the use case, why you'd want to run this thing. It's really for similar reasons that you'd run ECS or any other container platform that has a nice web UI, and that's mainly for self-service, right? You could hand this to your web developers and a little bit of a learning curve, and then they're off, churning out their own services, without you logging into the command line every time you need to start up a new container, right? Or them, for that matter, depending on how savvy your developers are. So, like most software that comes out of Red Hat, there's 2 ways you can use OpenShift. There's the free model, which uses OpenShift Origin, And then there's the for pay model, which you can get. I think they're calling it Red Hat OpenShift Container Platform nowadays. It used to be OpenShift Online versus OpenShift Origin versus OpenShift Enterprise. I think they were calling the self-hosted, for pay version.
Yeah, if Red Hat is before the name, you have to pay for it.
Yeah,
if
right.
Red Hat's not in the name, it's probably the free version. And that's not to disparage Red Hat. I mean, Red Hat's awesome, and I would buy service from them, whenever I could afford it.
Yeah, so I mean, I for work I run a lot of Red Hat software, and for my own personal stuff, I just basically exchange Red Hat for CentOS, and for all the various other upstream projects, that are free. The difference is you don't get support. Is really what it comes down to. You get all the other benefits of having a Red Hat product. It's just that you get features before they come to the released, Red Hat versions because they're upstream. That's the point.
And not to say that the community isn't community is very active in a lot of those spaces as well.
All I'm saying is you can't log into a support portal somewhere and open up a ticket and expect an engineer to get back to you, which is what I get out of my Red Hat subscription. So, and there have been cases where I'll go a whole year and never open a single ticket because, I know what I'm doing and I don't need it. Then there's other times that I feel like I'm opening up a ticket every other week. So, sometimes it's handy. So, anyway, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about OpenShift Origin on the show tonight because that's something that's readily available to anybody listening to the show right now. You can literally go to openshift.org and you can download the platform in several ways. One of them is using like a VM that you can stand up. There's one where there's binaries you can download. Sorry, was one of you about to say something?
I was just agreeing with you.
No. Okay, I thought somebody was saying something. Anyway, so yeah, you can get OpenShift Origin in a couple ways. Like I said, there's well, here, let me just look at the page and instead of doing this from memory here. Like I said, OpenShift.org. Got this little timeline on here, which is nice. You can see release schedules and whatnot. So yeah, there's this command line tool called OC, which I forget what it stands for. Open Cloud, maybe? OC, I don't know. But you get that binary, and then there's actually just a command you run, OC cluster up, and it builds you an OpenShift platform inside of Docker containers. So you're managing Docker containers from within Docker containers, which is kind of weird, but
Docker and Docker.
Docker and Docker makes a wormhole. You end up in the gamma quadrant.
Very nice.
So anyway, so yeah, there's that nice little command line tool. There's also this neat thing that I was poking at just earlier today. Actually, there's two other ways. One is you can just get the Docker container yourself and run it, which is outlined on their page. And there's another thing called MiniShift, which integrates with several different types of virtualization platforms. In my case, it was talking directly to libvirt, but it'll work with VirtualBox. It'll work with, what is it that you use on Mac? Is it VirtualBox on Mac? Dustin?
No. Can be, sure.
Just, okay. Let me look here. I think it tells me.
VirtualBox is the sort of the open source one that you can use. I would hope they're not going to integrate with something else. The
default on OS X is this thing called Hive X.
Yes. Yeah. I forgot about that.
What is that?
I have no idea. I've never gotten it to run.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's the default.
So if I want to run it, I usually pop up a Linux VM and run it inside that.
Awesome. Okay,
Hive,
so yeah,
Hive requires you to run brew and install all this extra crap, and I don't.
Jason doesn't like brew.
You don't
he
like
likes
brew?
Coffee, but he doesn't like brew.
I'm not a fan of putting that stuff on my system because I think there's better ways to do it.
But how else can I hack my Mac OS into being more like a Linux box?
By all means, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But that's not me.
And you can even run the thing on Windows using Hyper-V. Surprise, surprise. So anyway, I used MiniShift earlier today with libvirt, and it was actually very nice. There was a couple pieces you had to install I ran it on Fedora. There was a couple pieces I had to install to get some different, compatibilities in place. And then it was literally, I ran this thing and it built me a VM and it started it up and there was OpenShift. So pretty neat.
Yeah, you can get it up and running really, really quick.
Yeah. So the problem that I have with OpenShift, and it's really a similar problem to what I had with ECS. At least on ECS, I was able to take my own code and get it up and running relatively quickly. I followed their instructions. Their instructions showed me how to, set up the Docker registry, and then I could push my simple Python code that I was reusing from the Derby project into the ECS repository. Then I was able to pull that into a container and get it running, and it was actually pretty simple. With OpenShift, I didn't find it to be quite that simple. It does include its own Docker registry, but it wasn't obvious how to actually make use of it. Maybe a little more digging, and I would be able to find that. You could use external registries, but I tried using things from Docker Hub, for example, because, it's running Docker, right? I should be able to do this. And most of them wouldn't run. They wouldn't pull in and start up as quickly or as easily as I expected that they might. I found a little how-to on how to get a WordPress. They call it an instant app up and running. I don't know if the directions I had were made for OpenShift version 2 instead of 3, but they didn't seem to make sense at all. They seem to be geared only toward OpenShift Online. So this sort of points to something like a fractured sort of environment, if you ask me. I know these all sound very negative. I do like the concept behind OpenShift and OpenShift Origin because it's all self-hosted. You can run this thing on like I did on your laptop, or you can set up, several machines in your data center to run OpenShift. Where I think it's lacking, honestly, is good centralized documentation, or at least documentation that a sysadmin can grasp without being a developer. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to be able to stand this thing up and run web apps that I'm familiar with, like Drupal and WordPress, and just have them on a container platform instead of being in, an Apache host like I have now. And that didn't seem like it was that easy to accomplish. So,
with Red Hat OpenShift, they required, I'm trying to remember what the terminology was that they used, but basically the containers had to be approved or signed.
Certified.
Is that what it was? Certified.
Certified. I forget.
So the registry and the containers and everything had to be basically signed somehow so they could run on the platform. I don't know that the same exists for OpenShift Origins, but it might. And I haven't dug into it.
I'll say that what I looked at, there was nothing that made that obvious. There was nothing that said you can't run things from Docker Hub. There was nothing that said your container had to meet a certain kind of criteria. On the page in the UI where I was setting up a container, it was just like, oh yeah, what's the name of the container you want to run? And literally, if I put in the name of a container from Docker Hub, it went to Docker Hub and got it. It just wouldn't run it. It would try. Everyone I tried would fail. I tried WordPress. It gave me this error about, it has to run as root and you're not allowed to do that. It's like, okay. So then I tried like 3 other containers and they all gave me the same error. So either everybody on Docker Hub is running their containers as root, or OpenShift is doing something weird that makes it think it's running as root.
Maybe it's like a default policy or something that's configured.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I'm just not certain how this is supposed to work. I'd love it if I could just log into the OpenShift console and say, run me a WordPress, and it spins up a database and it spins up a WordPress, and then I can just log into the web UI and configure it. Right? But that didn't seem to be a thing that I could do with OpenShift. Maybe there's a way to do it. Like I said, it's very, very likely that there's a way to do this, because obviously there's some popularity behind OpenShift. Otherwise, Red Hat wouldn't be pushing it so hard. Maybe they're pushing it hard because there's not popularity. I don't know.
If like most of these different platforms, there's probably some initial config that has to be set up in order to get it to do kind of what you want.
Yeah,
so it's possible it's missing something.
OpenShift 2 when I set it up, which was a bear, by the way. OpenShift 2 was a pain in the butt to get configured. But I managed to get through it a couple times. And it came out of the box with these pre-built cartridges for things like WordPress and Drupal. And so you could just go into the UI and say, like, yeah, give me a WordPress. And up would come a WordPress. And all you would do is log into the thing, configure WordPress, and there you were. You had WordPress. There may have been some limitations there because you didn't have a shell where you could like just log in and modify code. But for the most part, WordPress is designed to be manageable via the UI without having command line access because there's so many web hosts that do that.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, like the one-click installers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I think that was a very usable thing. And they managed to get Drupal working in a similar way where it was like you didn't really need a CLI to manage the thing. Again, I'm sure there were limitations there. With OpenShift 3, that's not nearly as straightforward as it was.
Well, according to the documentation, the running a container looks very similar to how Docker does it.
Yeah. No, it does. It presents itself as being a very similar procedure. You know, like here, put the name of the container in here. Here's where you can specify variables. Here's where you can specify volumes. And these are all things that are very familiar to your Docker command line. But like I said, just running something off Docker Hub just doesn't work as easily as running, you know, a Docker run.
Right. The registry has to be secure though, otherwise you have to run OpenShift with an insecure registry flag. So
well, you run it's the same thing as Docker. Docker itself normally expects your registry to be secure, and you have to add that flag if you don't want it to be.
Yep. I'm just kind of tooling through the documentation here, looking to see for anything specific. I don't know. This documentation looks pretty simple. You just OC new app,
and right,
the app, and off it goes.
Poof, it's working, right?
Yeah. I don't know what your problem is.
The thing that that's not clear is, even say I want to run my own custom code, like I don't know what it is that I have to do to make it work on OpenShift versus just work in a Docker container. You'd think it'd be the same thing, but it doesn't seem to be.
Well, it looks like you can run, and having built a lot of Docker containers at this point, I'm not entirely certain how this works, but it appears that you can just point OC at a path to your source code, and it will just magic will happen, and it'll be in a container. There has to be something else to that.
It seems to suggest that, but I don't believe it.
Yeah, there's got to be a config in here somewhere that tells you what it is, how it runs, and all the information, like, kind of similar to what a Docker file would be. But
right.
Yeah, there's a ton of information that you can put in on how to run a container and what how to deploy that particular container, like what do they have in here? They've got URLs for Git, they've got routing, they've got build configuration stuff. So this looks like how you build right from source. And by routing, they mean web routing and not actual network routing.
Yeah, I think that's basically like proxies and whatnot, inbound proxies.
Okay, side tangent. Just want to point out, not everything is a web app. Damn it!
Everything's a web app.
Not everything is a web app.
Does everything have a GUI?
It seems like everything that I'm seeing these days for Docker and other stuff is just like, cool. So when we point at your web app, what's the path? And it's like, but it's not a web app. Not everything is a friggin' web app.
This is my mail server. Stop.
Exactly. Like, we've actually worked with somebody working on different things, and they're like, so, when you set this stuff up, like, this is the way that we do it. I'm like, yeah, but what if it's not a web app and we got a blank look? Like, what do you mean?
Why would you run something that's not a web app in Docker? Isn't that what it's for?
That's like, what do you mean? What do we mean? Like, what if it's not a web app? Like, yes, we have web pages that pop up and stuff, but like most of what we do is not web based. Like,
right.
Imagine if we presented a challenge with UDP, not even TCP, Jason.
Yeah, well, we're not going
That
to
would
go
be,
there.
but I'm just saying that would be crazy.
It would be, but we're not going to even attempt that.
I
But
know.
anyway, back to
It's
OpenShift.
not reliable. Not a
Back to
reliable story.
OpenShift.
So the one thing I'm not sure of how they handle it, and I haven't dug into it, is networking in Kubernetes is a little, let's call it odd.
Flat.
So by default, Kubernetes uses a single network. Matter of fact, I'm sorry. The only option you have without adding additional packages is that Kubernetes lays out a single network. So it's just a flat network. Everybody has the same IP range and everybody can connect to everybody. There's some weird rules in there about pods and containers or whatever, but basically everything can connect to everything. It's all on the same network. And then you have to add in something like Calico or Weave or Flannel or any of the other networking plugins. We've mentioned some of them here.
Right.
To actually give you a networking layer. And Kubernetes has I think it's called CNI, container networking something or other. I forget what it stands for. Anyway, the idea is that it's a standard, and that any policy that you write within that will work against any plugin that uses that standard.
Yes.
What I haven't seen, and I'm not sure off the top of my head, is what OpenShift uses for networking, and that would be an interesting thing to dig into.
I can say that in my trials with OpenShift 3, I have not seen much in the way of what it does for networking. But as I've already stated, I really didn't get much further than trying to run an application. That was really my main goal. I would probably wager that it runs networking in a similar way to Kubernetes.
Let's see. There's the OpenShift Container Platform SDN, which apparently is New Age Networks, which I have never heard of.
There's totally a software-defined thingy to make that stuff work.
Is that the only one? New Age apparently is the one that they've chosen to use.
New Age.
Interesting.
NUAGE. New Age. Which looks.
Are you sure it's not Nuage?
Could be.
Or Nogge.
Nuage. Nuagi.
Oh, guys.
Nuage.
Nuag. It's Nuag.
This is a Nokia company.
Yeah, this looks pretty.
Oh, it is.
Pretty much, I think it just follows the standard, and it's pretty much like all the rest of them.
Yeah, it's the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have the server capacity to deploy on personally to deploy something like this just to see how it worked.
Well, I mean, you can run it with MiniShift on your Mac.
There we go.
I'm going to use VirtualBox, and I'm going to pop up 30 VMs.
You can. Well, I mean, the system I built was running on one VM. I don't know that you can tell it to run on more than one.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the purpose of MiniShift. MiniShift is meant to get you an OpenShift up and running so you can poke at it.
Yep,
and it did just that. It did it well. So you can use that funny virtualization platform on Mac that you could never get running.
Hive
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Hive with an X. Hive. Freaking Hive. Hive spelled an X. What the hell is that crap? I think we've run out of names. They're all gone, and now we have to resort to spelling Hive with an X.
Well, I mean, it's what we do.
Yeah, right. How we do it. So yeah, OpenShift. If you're in the market for a container management platform, give it a look. It's not bad software, and I think it's cool that it's open source, and there's a little less mystery to it than there is to ECS. Not that ECS is a bad platform. Maybe it's great for you. I don't know. I was turned off by the lack of control in ECS. But of course, with control comes I have to learn how the hell this thing works, which is part of the problem I'm having with OpenShift at the moment. So I guess it's a trade-off. Control for knowledge.
See.
And if you happen to be, let's see, if you are, if you're on the Kubernetes team or the OpenShift team or the ECS team, or if you're on a team that does Docker and you want to be, if you want to be on our podcast, just let us know.
Yeah, right. You know, this actually, now I'm curious. I wonder if I could talk to our Red Hat rep and get someone from the OpenShift team. That'd be awesome.
That would probably be cool.
I was kicking around the idea of talking to the guy who contacted me about ECS to be on the show. So maybe I'll follow up on those ideas.
That works. He's a dev evangelist or something, I think is what his Twitter said.
Dev evangelist. Sounds like the perfect sort of person to be on a podcast, right?
Yep.
Maybe he's listening right now. If you're listening now, tell me, and I will invite you to be on our show. The beer helps, but it's not required.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Drink responsibly, and if you don't like to drink, then, well, don't drink. It's fine.
Drink responsibly. Indeed.
Exactly.
I've never met a sysadmin that didn't like to drink, though.
Or smoke.
But I'm drinking responsibly. I am not currently root on any servers.
That's the important part.
Yes.
And my VPN is disconnected. So, I'm doing it right.
All right.
But you're recording a podcast where,
whatever. Podcasts are irresponsible already. I mean, the beer doesn't need to be there.
Are irresponsible. All right. So, middle of December, we're going to have a coworker of mine named Charles on to chat about running WordPress responsibly. Speaking of drinking responsibly. So basically, he's a web dev at the place that I work, and we do a lot of WordPress. And he's the guy who sort of architects how we run WordPress, and he's gonna tell us, maybe not necessarily about how we specifically run WordPress, but best practices that he's come across, and how to run WordPress in such a way that you're not going to end up being part of a botnet or spam campaign. So that's something to look forward to. I think I'd have to look at my calendar to be sure that it's the right date, but I want to say the 18th was the day that I'm talking about having him on. So if either of you has a calendar in front of you. Oh, wait, I have a calendar in front of me. Hang on.
You could drop to a prompt and type Cal.
Yeah, indeed. Or I could click on the menu bar at the top of GNOME that gives me a calendar, which is just what I did.
Another weirdly named solution. GNOME. There you go.
Can we talk about trains too?
We could. Yeah, it looks like December 18th. It is. That's the day that he's going to be on. Unless scheduling doesn't pan out, but that's the day that we talked about him being on. So that'll hopefully be coming up. That'll be something fun to talk about. We should be done talking about Docker by then.
Docker.
Maybe.
Docker.
It's a big topic.
Docker. So looks like the 20th is the next time we record. I don't know if we have any other Docker platforms to talk about, but we were hoping to cover something like Rancher, or maybe you guys have some experience with DCOS.
So if you're listening to our podcast and you know anything about Rancher, reach out.
Yeah, I have never. I know of Rancher, and that's as far as I've been.
I have used Rancher's. I have used Rancher's issue tracker to fix a number of problems with Docker, but I've never actually run Rancher.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, so we may or may not cover Rancher. At least, so I mean, we're in a similar boat to what we were with ECS. I mean, ECS was something that none of us had really touched, and then we, both Jason and I both had some mild experience to it, and then I just dove into it a little bit, and then we decided to have a show about it. It's more of an introductory thing. So I guess we could do the same thing with Rancher. I don't know. Is Rancher a for pay thing that we'd have to pay to do this, or is it open source?
It's on GitHub, so I'm guessing it's open source.
Okay, so maybe we could. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So there may or may not be a segment on Rancher coming up. And I guess, do you guys feel like you could chat about DCOS at some point?
Crap, now I have homework.
Yeah, I'd have to stand up something and play with
Listen,
it. They've changed it.
I did ECS and I did OpenShift. You guys can do something.
All right. 2 versions have passed. I'm sure we can.
I thought you guys ran.
Wow, are they at 2.0 now or 1.10?
1.10.
No, they're on like 3.13.
No, we're talking about DCOS.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm throwing numbers out randomly.
Oh, good. That's okay. That's what they do too.
Oh, good. Good. I don't get a good. I don't get a good feeling about this application from you guys.
I was not a fan.
I was
not a fan. I hated it.
But I learned to appreciate it. There was a lot of things that were very interesting about it, but it was very frustrating and challenging at times.
Don't you guys run it today? No, you don't?
No. Have you ever heard that expression about putting things together with duct tape and baling wire?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, if they are claims you can back up, then sure, bring them to the show. We're not sponsored, so say what you want.
Say what you want to say.
All right. I think we've beaten that horse to death for tonight, and the recorder's still working. Look, oh, I can't. But the cord's too short. Sorry, I was going to show you the recorder's still recording, but
I'll pull it out.
You know. Yeah, right. I'll pull it up to show you. It'll unplug, and then it will just fail. That'd be terrible.
Your recorder's working, and my internet connection is still questionable. Once again.
Thank you, Comcast.
On your end.
Your feed seems great. It's Jason's that has been spotty, but now he's been fine.
Still,
everything's slow again.
You've been fine since we came back from the recorder problem.
So glad I put those electrocution buttons in for the kids. I mean, I sent them a message and said, "Please stop.
Stop torrenting."
Nah, they don't torrent. Torrents are old news, man. I don't think the kids even. They're like, "Oh yeah, we don't do that."
Stop whatevering. Yeah, I don't do that. Sure.
Yeah, I stopped.
You believe that? All right. So anyway, if you folks think that this podcast is worth watching again after tonight, I wouldn't blame you if you ran away screaming. But you can find
sell it. Way to sell it.
I'm not a salesman. That's all there is to it. If either of you are a good salesman, then you can feel free to pitch. You can find us at ironsysadmin.com, facebook.com, ironsysadmin, Twitter, ironsysadmin, whatever. Find us at ironsysadmin on all the socials. ironsysadmin.com/YouTube and /Slack will get you to our YouTube channel and our Slack, what do they call it now? Workspace?
Workspace, yes.
Workspacey thingy.
Yes. What about a Keybase team? We haven't started that yet.
Keybase team. That'll have to be next, I suppose. If anybody's on Keybase, let us know, and we'll set up a Keybase team too.
I'm not joining your Facebook group.
No? Fine.
I can't either. I don't have an account. I'm sorry.
Fine. You guys are all old fashioned and whatever.
I was a user. Jason can claim he never was. He's the golden boy.
No, he was.
Well, I was for 2 weeks.
He was totally there for a short period of time.
2 weeks.
He and I joined Facebook around the same time, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And then he left. Then I left a while later. And then
but wait, did you actually leave or did you just deactivate?
I actually deleted my account.
Wow.
And then I was convinced to rejoin by my wife. So I've been there ever since. I've been back on Facebook like 4 years.
Convinced.
So, yep. Convinced.
Not giving into that at all.
So anyway, back on track here. We appreciate all of our Patreon donors. If anybody wants to donate to the show, you can find us at patreon.com/ironsysadmin. We do this out of our own pockets. It's not a huge cost, but there are some expenses. So anything you want to give us is great. And of course, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, I guess wherever you'd normally find podcasts. I'm sure there's some places that we aren't listed, but if you can't find us, look elsewhere. Seems legitimate, right? All right, I think we've had enough beer for the night and had enough screw ups for the night. And before the recorder dies again, I think the show is over. Any final words?
Beer.
I guess not. Beer. Docker. Warlock. Backwards.
Warlock.
Hey, that is not the same Warlock that I had passed on to Dustin.
Not
no.
the same Warlock. It's an imperial stout, ale brewed with pumpkin and with pumpkin pie spice. It really didn't taste like pumpkin pie.
No.
It tasted like an imperial stout with some weird spices in it.
I love imperial stout.
Nightmare on Brett. Dark sour ale.
Dark sour
it's
ale.
Dark and it's sour and it's kind of awesome.
And it's an ale.
9.666 ABV.
666.
3 sixes.
Mine is 8.6. Only 1 6.
I don't know what mine was. I had an SBC something fall themed.
Stiletto of the Blood Claw?
From last year. Huh?
The Stiletto of the Blood Claw?
No, it's Susquehanna Brewing Company. But that was actually really good.
Back to EverQuest we go.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I was gonna say that was awfully quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, wow.
That was referred to as the
4.8.
SBC in EverQuest. SBC stands for something else too, doesn't it? Something network related? Company. No, there's a network thing called an SBC, isn't there?
Slow bus console.
Session border controller.
There you go. Session border controller. I knew there was something in there.
That thing I spent way too much time with.
Yeah.
And then there's actually a second SBC. What does it stand for? It's another brewing company. It's the PA Ren Fair. The place that does PA Ren Fair has it as a brewing company right there that's called SBC.
SBC
I think it's Swashbucklers Brewing Company.
Yeah, Swashbuckler Brewing Company. Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with Stiletto of the Blood Claw because I had to camp for hours for that thing.
I've never had.
I could never get into that game. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it.
All right, I think we're done. Hours, man. Hours. I was surrounded by frog walks.
Batteries. See? Oh, I think this one's actually dead, though.
All right. Anyone who had the patience to stick with us on YouTube, thank you. And good night.